video I did last year. This window trim is, that's just put that over there. See, that fixed it, no more rattling. Hello guys, and welcome back to Tierspec TV. Last year I made a video on the subject of my Defender reaching 300,000 kilometers, and from that I came up with some suggestions, let's say, as to what I could possibly do with it next, such as, should I sell it and move on to something else? Should I take it off the road and restore it? Should I take it off the road and go try something else out for a while? Or a combination of those things? And a few of you have actually asked, well, what was the outcome of that? And clearly, I haven't sold it because it's still right here next to me more than a year later. And I'll be completely honest, I never had any intentions of selling this Defender, and I don't think I ever will. For me, it's a very, very special car that I've created a lot of memories with, so I hope that I never ever get rid of this. However, I have made a rather big decision in regards to its future, which some of you may have picked up on, because the front number plate is missing. I have unregistered, if that's even a word, my Defender. I've taken the plates off. I can no longer use it on the public road. And here in Denmark, when you unregister a car, you have to physically take the license plates off and hand them in to the authorities. I don't know if that's how it works in any other countries, but that's how it is here. And I was actually a little bit sad about having to give over that front number plate, because it was all sort of dented and beaten up and mangled from all of the things that we've done with it. So it was a kind of a cool little trophy or sort of garage decoration piece, which I really wanted to keep just for the sake of nostalgia. But no, it is gone. I had to hand it in. And the reason for making that decision is based on two things, which I'm going to talk about in this video. The first one is the road tax, and the second one is the MOT, the inspection you have to do every few years on road cars to make sure they're still roadworthy, which I'm just going to refer to as MOT in this video because I know the majority of our viewers are from the UK. Both of those things were due this summer. And in the build-up to the MOT, I took the Defender to a local mechanic that I know to have it looked over, because he usually expects some minor things to come up with a vehicle of this age and mileage every time you go to the MOT. And as expected, some minor things did come up. But there was also one major thing, and that was rust. Now, I know some of you are going to be leaping to your keyboards now saying, why didn't you fix the rust 5 years ago when I told you to, instead of spending all your money on these flashy bits? And just hear me out, because I'm going to explain my whole thought process in this video today, because this is kind of a moment I expected or even planned for in my time with this Defender. And this is just the start of the next chapter with my time with this Defender. Fortunately, I can still drive around the fields, forest, go off-roading, etc. It's not like just because I've taken the plates off of this that it's going to be sitting in a shed for the next 12 months. But let's start out by talking about the road tax. The other thing that I mentioned, and I should probably get off this rather bumpy surface here, the other thing that I mentioned at the start of this video, because if you don't know Denmark, where we are right now, they have some of the highest taxes in the world, especially on cars. Basically, if you have anything specialized, like a sports car, a supercar, a 4x4, a luxury car, anything like that that isn't just your run-of-the-mill, you know, hatchback or estate car or anything like that, you're kind of going to be penalized for it, let's say. Because there are extremely high taxes on the purchase price of cars here, but also extremely high annual road tax on cars, and that's basically, as far as I know, based on how fuel efficient your car is. So the less eco-friendly your car is, the more road tax you have to pay. I guess that's probably the same in most places, but here it's quite extreme. So, for example, this Defender, which of course is very eco-friendly, sort of, the annual road tax on this, which I'm going to say in pounds, British pounds, because again, I know a lot of you are from the UK, the annual road tax on this this car is the equivalent of about £1,500. Yes, each year, for the privilege of having number plates on this car here. And that's not including the other things it takes to run a car, so insurance, fuel, maintenance, all of which are quite expensive on a Defender. And that, combined with the news I got back about the condition of my chassis, just trying to avoid holes in this field. Oh, I love, there's something so freeing about driving through fields in the summer like this. There's nothing to hit, just be a little bit silly. That was a little bit bumpy. Where were we? I've genuinely forgotten. Yeah, so the combination, the timing of the fact that both were due at the same time, MOT and tax, it felt like it was the right time to make this decision to take it off the road. And I got a quote to have the rust fixed, which you're probably asking, where is the rust? It's the worst part, I think, is on the outriggers just behind the front wheels, and there's some in some other places as well. And the quote I got to repair that rust, because it's not something I'd want to do ourselves, was about the same as just going and buying a galvanized chassis. So you can probably see where I'm going with this. And I fully appreciate the cost of just getting the rust repaired is not the same as the actual process of putting it on a new chassis. You know, you don't just buy a chassis and plonk it on and it's done. There's a lot more involved, so that it's not just the cost of the chassis is what I'm saying. It would be a lot more expensive and time consuming than that. But if I went down that route, I'd effectively future-proof this Defender, and at least in terms of the underside, and I could make a cool series of content out of it for you guys to watch, rather than going to someone, asking them to fix it, and getting it back, not having made any sort of content or storyline out of it. But also the other thing is, I feel like it's quite likely when you start digging into the corners of this, you're going to find bigger problems, more rust, etc. And, you know, in another 2 years or so, there's probably going to be other things that need replacing. And I say 2 years because that's the intervals for the MOT here. Now, again, I could do more preventative measures, rust protection, etc., and I could have done that in the past as well. But like I said, I kind of planned for / expected all of this to happen. I sort of told myself, if it ever gets to that stage, I'd rather take it off the road and future-proof it, put it on a galvanized chassis, and sort out everything on the underside, brakes, suspension, make it, you know, top quality all around, rather than just fixing. Nor did I think the rust was as bad as it was, perhaps. So although I was kind of just like, yeah, this will happen at some point, one day I'll go to the MOT and it's just going to be, yeah, there's too much rust. I might have expected it to last a little bit longer than it did, but at the same time, it doesn't really matter. The thing is, this Defender isn't my daily driver. I don't really depend on it. You know, it's not like my work vehicle, even though I do use it for its intended purpose. It's a bit of a workhorse in my life. But I don't need it, and I'm incredibly fortunate, I appreciate that, in where I live, that I can still actually use it for the things I used it for. A lot of the driving I did with it was around here on the farm, in the fields, in the woods, where I don't need to go onto a public road to get to. So actually I can take the number plates off, save that huge tax bill, put that towards fixing it up, and still use it in the meantime. And I fully intend to carry on putting a few modifications on it between now and whenever this restoration process starts, if it ever starts. I'll get onto that. Because I still want to make videos, I still want to test out new products from the likes of RE, our sponsor, and Tough Rock, and so on. So, oh, there was a big hole there. That's the problem. You can't always see these things, but it doesn't matter. So I still want to do that stuff. Obviously, I won't do anything major because if I'm going to do the restoration process, then it can happen then. But I can still put a few mods on it here and there for the sake of creating content and having a bit of fun, and still getting to use the Defender around here. But the whole tax this issue also raises another question, and is that, do I even bother doing a kind of restoration, putting it on a new chassis, or do I go down another route like I mentioned in the 300,000 kilometer video I did last year? This window trim is, let's just put that over there. See, that fixed it, no more rattling. There's also a squeaking, which I hope, well, you probably can hear. But I honestly have no idea where that squeaking is coming from. It's been there for probably the best part of the last year. No idea where that's coming from. I have fiddled and poked and twisted so many things and in this interior, and I don't know where it's coming from. It doesn't seem to want to go away. So yeah, the other option is I don't do this. I just keep this Defender off the road as it is now, and sort of keep using it, or you know, whatever. But I don't go down the route of trying to fix it up with the purpose of getting it back on the road, but rather go out and say get a classic Land Rover, like say a Series 3, because despite the ridiculously expensive taxes here in Denmark, I'm trying to keep my sun visor on. If you just Defender things. Despite the taxes here in Denmark, classic cars, or veteran cars, as they call them here, have very, very low annual road tax. And a classic car in this country is anything over 35 years old. So I could go get a Series 3 or an early Land Rover 90, for example, or like something with a V8 even, like Nissa's Land Rover 90 V8 is soon going to be eligible for this veteran status. It's almost 35 years old, at which point he can put number plates back on it, because they're not on it right now, and pay very, very little road tax. So I could do something like that, and have that as my on-road Land Rover, and then just keep this off the road. And I don't know what I would do with it. I really don't want to sell it, but like keep it, use it for off-road stuff, you know, around the farm as a workhorse, with the intention of, you know, maybe restoring it, but just waiting longer for that, or waiting for this to become a veteran, but that would take a very long time because it's 22 this year, it's from 99, so it would take until, what, it's another, what, you know, 13 years. So it would be a very, very long time to get to that stage. So this is where I'd really love your input on this whole thing, what you guys think I should do. The other idea that I had was to, you know, if I do restore it, how far do I go? Do I just stick it on a new chassis? Bish back bosh, done, move on? Do I go all out, you know, respray, new bulkhead, new doors, new chassis, everything, and just make it like new again? Personally, I don't think I'd want to go down that route, firstly because of cost. It's not really a cost I want to invest in right now. Secondly, I think if I did like a nut and bolt restoration on this Defender, I would love to if money were no object, but it is an object, and I think I'd be afraid to touch it if I did, you know, resprays and that kind of thing, let alone use it and do the stuff we normally do with it. So I think either it's going to be put it on a galvanized chassis, make the underside tip-top, new suspension, brakes, chassis, everything under there as, you know, to the highest quality, and then the rest of the Defender, doors, bulkhead, etc., the other things that normally need replacing, kind of wait with that for now, because that can wait. And although some of those things aren't brilliant, I'm not that bothered. I'm not really bothered about the aesthetic of this Defender. You know, the paint isn't great. It does show its age in places and usage, but I'm not that fussed about it. It is a workhorse. I don't want it to be a kind of show car. And mechanically, that's the other thing. It's in really good shape, in my opinion, despite the mileage it's done. Over 300,000 kilometers now, and the engine is in really good shape. It's had a lot of things replaced in recent years, like the turbo, the steering box, all the steering components have been replaced with the Gwyn-Lewis heavy-duty equivalent parts. It's been running the Storm Tuning Stage 2 remap, which in my opinion makes it run smoother than ever, contrary to what a lot of people think. So it's had all kinds of things done to it mechanically, I think, which actually, underneath, it's really good in that sense. Oh, the new clutch from LOF well, that's another thing, and the flywheel. So there's all these things going on internally, which mechanically I think kind of score it really highly. So there's mechanically, aesthetically, and structurally. Structurally is the problem right now. Aesthetically it's okay, but I don't really care, and you know, it doesn't really make a difference if the paint is kind of coming off in places or faded or whatever in the grand scheme of things. Mechanically, as I said, I think it's really, really great. We've put a lot of work into that part of it, and I'm not concerned about that. So it's either the kind of soft restoration, new chassis, make the underside great, or go down the route of kind of keeping it as it is, more or less, and going and getting a Series 3 or something like that, or a V8 90, something kind of special like that, and making that my new sort of primary on-road Land Rover. There goes that dip right again. So I'm really curious to hear what you guys think. Either way, I'll continue to use this Defender. It doesn't mean it's going to disappear from the channel, and you're not going to see it again for a while. And I'm going to continue to do a few mods here and there on it, because like I said, I want to keep making content. I'm still going to use it around the farm, off-road, we're still going to make videos with it, and so on. So let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below after this video. Before I finish this video, I just want to talk about LRO for a second, the Land Rover show over in Peterborough in the UK, which we've been attending for the last few years, excluding last year, of course, because it was cancelled. A few of you have been asking if we're going to be attending this year, and until very recently, I thought we weren't going to be able to due to travel restrictions. However, that has all changed in the last few weeks in regards to travelling between Denmark and the UK. So I can now reveal that I will, in fact, be at LRO this year. Unfortunately, Nissa can't make it, but I will be there on the Saturday. I'm not sure about the Sunday just yet. So far, I'm only planning to go on the Saturday. And I've already announced this over on our Instagram page as well, so you might have seen that already. But if not, hopefully I will see you there. It's always an epic show. It's so kind of manic, and I just want to capture as much of it as possible, so I will be doing my best to create as many great videos as I can, and also hopefully meeting a lot of you guys. I'll be wandering around the show all weekend, so do come by and say hello. Thank you very much for watching, and potentially see you at LRO.